and I know that you share some with me as well, because the people of Canada have been very, very good friends of the Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre, one of the Anglican institutions. Our thanks to Bishop John and to all those who contributed to the music appeal 3 years ago, because we're not able to afford music therapy in our centre. So our bishop here and people here, Bishop Sam, all helped us to support that. So now, last year we had music therapy for all our children. $5,000, it wasn't a lot, but we made a big difference. Our thanks to Canadian Compass Rose, who have been faithful friends to us, and to all those who have put their feet in the land, and to all those maybe who may do in the future. The invitation is there. So I bring greetings from Violette Mubarak, who is the General Director of the Centre, and from all our Palestinian colleagues. I stand here as a privilege, very humbly, because I would rather they stand beside me. I share an office with a lovely Palestinian woman called JulieAnn. My name is JulieAnn, which is almightily confusing for all the people who live and work in our centre. So they know me as Juliana the Ajnabiya, which is the foreign one. So that's they just call me Ajnabiya, so I know when I'm reading. From our office on the Mount of Olives, which is almost a better view than Bishop Sam's office, I can see on a good day the Dead Sea, I can see Jordan, the hills, and I can also see the separation wall. I know some of you visited the land before the wall came into being, and some of you have been since. This wall straddles the land and separates the West Bank from Israel. And Juliana, my compatriot, has sometimes a half an hour journey to work, sometimes a 3-hour journey to work, because she lives in the West Bank. I have a 5-minute to 10-minute journey to work from East Jerusalem. So the inequalities are, from the beginning. And that's why it is a great privilege to be here, but it also is a lament of mine that Juliana can't be with me. Okay, so let's move through what I want to offer to you today. The Anglican Church in the Diocese of Jerusalem, some of you may know all about it, some may not know very much about it. But the total Christian population west of the Jordan River has decreased significantly, from 25% a century ago to now way less than 22%. This is of all Christians, Catholics, Lutherans, Anglicans, Orthodox. These are all Christians in the land are now below 2%. And the number of Palestinian Anglicans is very small indeed, just 5,000. And they straddle 5 countries, and they're not easy countries to belong to. So we have Israel, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. So our Archbishop has not an easy job to manage the peoples there and the lands there. He says, in the face of diminishing Christian presence, our diocesan ministers sustain and strengthen our witness, shining the light of Christ into areas of darkness and offering hope to those otherwise living in despair. So thanks to Dean Rob, we are going to be talking more about hope and less about despair. But the despair is the context, and so I'll bring some of that to you as well. So the Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre is one of 30 institutions that operates under the umbrella of the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem. We have schools, we have health centres, we have hospitals, and this is a rehabilitation centre. The Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre is a centre based on the Mount of Olives, and it also has outreach into the West Bank and a satellite unit in Gaza, which I will talk more about later. I want to start with this photograph. Did I just move my hand again? because it is just the words of one mother, and very representative words, I believe, of one mother from the West Bank, who says, "You are a candle in the dark for us mothers." So why should that be? What does the centre do that provides light, the light that our Archbishop has talked about in our institution? Well, the darkness is the prevailing understanding or the prevailing attitude that children with disabilities are damaged. So that is their beginning, the stance. And historically, those damaged children should be hidden away because they bring shame on a family. The mother principally carries the burden of that shame, and so they are hidden so that it does not prevent the opportunities or decrease the opportunities for marriage for other siblings. So that was, I'll say, historically the case. Sadly, not so historically, but part of our mission is to educate and to empower families and those children. So, in other words, to bring light in the darkness of that understanding that children are damaged. Instead, we believe that all children are children of God. And so that is our vision, that is our prevailing purpose. Our story. We were established as a centre in 1961 in response to a widespread impact of polio in those days. Through intifadas, we went through different visions, but it was born through disabilities. Disability through the intifadas, adults and children, but now we are working only with children and their families. We are now the leading institution for paediatric rehabilitation. This is the Anglican institution, and we have an understanding with the Palestinian Authority, and children are referred to us to get their principal care. We also offer inclusive education. So you'll see in a moment we have a school, and that has a third of children with disabilities, and that is in East Jerusalem. Our vision is for all Palestinian children with disabilities to have access to quality health services and inclusive education so that they can participate, have influence, hope, and opportunities. And so that has been the vision from 1961 throughout to today. We have two core ministries. The rehabilitation for children with all kinds of a range of diseases and conditions. So it's from birth, including neuro diseases or ADHD, physical disabilities, cerebral palsy, learning difficulties. So we provide rehabilitation to those children from the West Bank, historically from Gaza, because they were able to come for a while to us. No longer, that's why we established a new centre in Gaza. But essentially, we provide rehabilitation to West Bankers and children in East Jerusalem. The education is for all those living in East Jerusalem, and it is a marginalised community, so that there is very little inclusive education for children with disabilities. And so our school, we work alongside children with and without disabilities, fully integrated, and we see it as an education for all. Our key programmes are, these are the two main ones, and where our fundraising essentially from Canadian Campus Rose and others goes towards the outreach programme in the West Bank. This one here, you can see Dr. Wada sitting at his desk in one of the clinics in the West Bank. These are local centres, and the families come to the clinics for assessment. Dr. Wada is the only paediatric rehabilitation doctor in Palestine. So he's based with us in our centre, and he goes out with our outreach team to all the different areas. You saw some on the dance film, Jenin, Hebron, Ramallah, all those kinds of places. He goes out twice a week. Sometimes it takes him half an hour, like JulieAnn, sometimes it takes him much longer. He was last month at Jericho for 3 hours at the checkpoint, just waiting to get through. So that is not unusual. So our outreach team go out to the West Bank because they cannot come to us without medical permission. So we go to them first, our team assess their needs, Those with advanced needs are assessed and brought to us by way of a referral. It's like a golden ticket. So the referral then goes to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, and then we're given permission through Israel Ministry of Health to get them permission to come to us for 3 weeks residential support. That is their route. And they may come to us up to 4 times a year. The Mother and Family Empowerment Programme is useful and needed and critical because it feels like darkness to some families. So the mothers come to us often feeling disempowered, feeling very distressed sometimes, a lifelong of feeling blamed for having a child with disabilities. And so part of our role there is to offer them psychosocial support, peer counselling, group counselling, and also training so that they follow the child through all their physiotherapy, occupational therapy, hydrotherapy, sensory therapy. They follow the child and are taught in the home therapy plan so they can do the exercises when they get home. They also have workshops on equal opportunities for children with disabilities so that they can empower their children and be a voice for their child. So, where faith, hope and love converge, I believe, is in this centre, in the Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre. Part of the Bible I like to use when pilgrims do come to us. When he came to the place where the road goes down the Mount of Olives, the whole crowd of disciples began joyfully to praise God in loud voices for all the miracles they had seen. I like to imagine that our office, our centre where the children play, may have been where Jesus trod, and where miracles were done, where healing was enacted, all those decades, centuries, and millennia ago. And the miracles today come in different forms. So here we believe that children are empowered, families find hope, and lives are transformed. There is a video which I can offer now, which is an introduction to our work. I think helps you to get a better understanding of what I can be. So it's about 5 minutes long, if you don't mind that. It will take you into the world of Jerusalem Princess Basma and a little bit into Gaza, which we'll carry on later.
In Palestine, children with disabilities face immense barriers. Families struggle against poverty, checkpoints, discrimination, and lack of accessible services. Too often, children are left without the specialized medical care they need. Amid this reality, the Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre is a place of hope and healing, and has been providing comprehensive rehabilitation services for children from East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza for over 6 decades. It is now the main national referral and resource center for children with disabilities in Palestine, and delivers high-quality rehabilitation in Arabic, combining international standards with a deep understanding of Palestinian realities. In 1987, the Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre expanded its mission by founding its inclusive school. Today, this school provides education from kindergarten through high school to both children with and without disabilities in fully inclusive and special classes, high-quality education and health services under one roof. We have long adopted a community-based rehabilitation approach, empowering parents as active partners in their child's care, while building the capacity of our partner centers in the West Bank. At our base in Jerusalem, our multidisciplinary team ensures each child receives holistic care, providing physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, hydrotherapy, sensory integration, and psychosocial support. At the heart of Jerusalem, Princess Basma Centre is the Child Rehabilitation Center, which provides 3 main types of services. Children from the West Bank and Gaza Strip receive comprehensive rehabilitation services as part of an intensive 2 to 3 week residential program. Children living in East Jerusalem receive child development services as outpatients. Children enrolled in the inclusive school receive student therapy services where rehabilitation is integrated into daily learning. We continue to develop, now offering audiology services and specialized services for children with autism, improving daily life for children, reducing family burdens, and bringing sustainable solutions closer to home. Rehabilitation is a continuous journey. It begins in the community through our outreach program, which assesses children in often marginalized villages in the West Bank and refers those with complex needs to our center in Jerusalem for intensive therapy. During this time, families are active partners and enrolled on the Mother and Family Empowerment Program, where they learn how to become shadow therapists and advocates for their child. On discharge, parents are trained in a home therapy plan to continue exercises at home. This home-based work is monitored through the follow-up telemedicine program. In addition, as a resource center, we train university students and invest in a future generation of rehabilitation specialists through our clinical training program. Our mission extended further in 2023 with the opening of the Princess Basma Satellite Unit in Gaza City, based in our sister institution, the Al Ahli Arab Hospital. The idea was to meet the urgent needs of children with disabilities within their own community. When war struck, services were disrupted, but the team adapted, working out of the unit and from their temporary shelters as necessary. With the online support from Jerusalem, they sustained care, becoming a lifeline for families in crisis. The Gaza unit continues to be more than a clinic. It is a bridge of expertise and hope, linking Jerusalem to Gaza's children. Around 100,000 children and families have benefited since 1964. Over the decades, the reach of JPBC has expanded. Today, the center serves more than 4,000 beneficiaries every year. Over 1,500 children receive therapies at the Child Rehabilitation Center. More than 60 outreach visits every year operate in the West Bank, and more than 400 students every year are educated at the inclusive school. Comparing 2024 to 2017, growth is clear. 11.4% more children served, 7.1% more outreach visits, and 3.4% more students enrolled. JPBC is accredited by the Joint Commission International and certified with ISO 901 recognition of quality and leadership. Behind every statistic is a child, a family, a story, a first step, a life empowered and hope inspired. Today, as we continue to expand our services in Jerusalem, J2 area, the West Bank, and Gaza, the focus remains on inclusion, empowerment, and sustainable rehabilitation. The Jerusalem Princess Basma Centre, empowering children, supporting families, leading to make lasting change.
So the Princess Basma Centre has been doing that work for over 60 years, but there's been very specific challenges in the last 3 years. Since the events of October 7th for Gaza, for Israel and Palestine. So let's look at East Jerusalem and the West Bank first of all. The context. No tourism, and in the West Bank, a lot of permits are forbidden, so West Bank is no longer able to work in Israel. The Palestinian economy is really, really struggling, and that is putting it lightly. Health services have been fragmented. Richard talked about communities being dissected. People cannot travel to their local clinics, and the Palestinian Authority cannot afford to run the local clinics often. So services are either closed or they have been reduced. Severe travel restrictions within and across the West Bank. There have been a multitude of new points and gates which are very erratic. They've been put into place throughout the West Bank, so that Juliana may be able to travel tomorrow in half an hour, but going home it may take 3 hours. And that's a form of power play that you never know when you're going to get to anywhere. So for special celebrations for Archbishop's welcome into his role, people could not get to us in time. They were forbidden at the last minute to come. So that is the sort of reality, day-to-day reality, which is a mind games as well as other things. Set the violence, so that when you can travel, then it is dangerous. So the mothers to come to Jerusalem, because only one permission is usually given, rather than parent permission for both. It takes a big act of trust for that mother to bring her child from the West Bank to Jerusalem if she's on her own. It also takes a lot of forms of transport and a lot of cost. From the north in Jenin, for example, you have to take a number of transport systems to cross checkpoints. And most latterly, during the Israel, USA, Iran war, there was warfare and missile fire, and that was very real for 6 weeks. Nevertheless, the mothers and the parents and the children still came as soon as it was safe to do so, which was about 3 days into the war. They felt safer with us than elsewhere. So the need has grown. Over the last 3 years, we have served 11,613 people. The health services are fragmented, so we've had to grow our services. At the same time that our funds have been decreased because our Palestinian health cannot afford to pay for the services because Israel is not giving them taxes as rebate. It is a difficult cycle. Ultimately, the children suffer, but because we are working under the Anglican Church, we have friends, international friends like yourselves, like Canadian Commons Rose, who support us to make sure those children get that support they need. So, Gaza. Faith, hope and love in action. Richard talked about hope being a verb, and here it really is a verb. The vision was in 2023, January, so not October, when literally all hell broke loose. We had a vision to bring services for children with disabilities and their families to Gaza, because in 2022 only 10 families were able to get from Gaza to our centre for the work and the rehabilitation they needed, through permits, through all kinds of difficulties. It is very hard for a child with severe difficulties to pass through checkpoints and to be waiting hours on end. And sometimes the grandmother had to bring the child, and it was very complicated. So, a new unit in Gaza, we got funding, which disappeared very quickly after October 2023. And we recruited 4 members of staff. By October the 1st, we were ready to launch. We were going to go and visit the week after, the 7th of October, and then, of course, it all happened. So, moved on, and our team of 4 were displaced. One went to the Catholic Church, and you'll hear about Musa later. He is now our coordinator there. Musa, whose name means Moses in Arabic. Here you see Al-Zahra. She is our occupational therapist, and her name means flora, flowers in Arabic. And this is why my mother, aged 92, prays for flora, because she can make sense of it. She has a name, she has a person she can see, and it brings life closer. Children and Palestinians are more than numbers. They have their own story, they have their own name, and they have their own identity. And it is a joy to bring some of that to you today. So here you see Al-Zahra in the very beginning of the war, when she was displaced in Rafah. So she set up shop where she was. It was an attempt. So this is where she started her work with Princess Basma, and this is an assessment you'll see happening here. And what happened, our team in Jerusalem organised a platform so that they could upload things to the platform, and when there was intermittent Wi-Fi, our team in Gaza downloaded the forms or the advice or the videos, and then worked like that. So the assessment here you can see will have been back uploaded to the platform, and our team in East Jerusalem would have received it, our doctors talked about it, and then a very slow but very thorough relationship evolved, so that all the work has been clinically supervised. So in June 2024, our original vision, which was to have a unit in our hospital, was realised. It was already by October 1st, 2023, but of course of the hit that had early in the war, we had some cosmetic damage. We were not hit directly, unlike other parts of the hospital. So we renovated, our doctor did the roof, our occupational therapist did the cleaning, it was a team effort. And in June 2024, it was opened. So a team then of 6 staff were operating out of the unit, and others at medical points in the south. Through that time, they treated 700 children, not only with chronic disabilities, which is what the bread and butter of our work used to be, but with war injuries. So we are based now in Palestinian Hospital with an orthopaedic department. So the children who have amputations or spinal injuries or burns, we receive those post-acute. So once they are finished their acute rehabilitation, we receive them in our unit to continue the support. So that is a real change in terms of what our team was seeing, some of the devastating injuries that the children receive. Our Gaza team worked throughout the whole of 2025 in spite of all the bombardment and displacements and increased assault on Gaza City. There was a coming and going in terms of displacement of our staff, and the unit only operated out of the unit when it was safe to do so, but we operated throughout the year. And together they admitted 817 children, again with chronic disabilities or post or subacute injuries. As I mentioned, our teams are one, they may be geographically different. So in East Jerusalem, we have our team, Dr. Warrah and again there. And then in Gaza, we have Musa and Dr. Saeed and the team there. So you can see the team in Gaza on the right and the team in East Jerusalem on the left. And they have multidisciplinary meetings every week. And discipline to discipline, they have other meetings. So the social worker will work with a social worker, and together they will link and discuss cases. Also, psychosocial support. So we have 1 million children living probably in deep trauma there. So the children who arrive with disabilities also come with scars you can't already maybe see. So we need to train our staff to try and support those children. So what we did, we've just finished an online course with a group of psychotherapists in Chicago. Again, this is funded by a team in the UK, a charity, an ecumenical church charity. And we are now trained to some degree in working with children with trauma in conflict zones. It's all in Arabic. So our team in Gaza met online with our team in East Jerusalem, online with our team in Chicago. So that is how the triangulation worked. And they are to some degree trained in narrative exposure therapy now. And here you can see some of the animations. I'm thinking of our friend here who did a PhD in animation. Bringing hope to children, how by using animation and children's stories safely, other children can relate to that emotion that in that film. And so it's called Bringing Hope to Children. It's called Amal. Amal means hope in Arabic. It's not enough, it's a beginning. Added to which we have now started a new piece of work supporting our staff who we have done some surveys, and they are naturally in Gaza and in East Jerusalem feeling deeply under pressure, profoundly affected by the stories that they have heard over the last 3 years. So they now also are invited to receive some psychotherapeutic support as well. So this is our team in Gaza. That's why I wanted you to move to the front so you can see their faces. There are 9 of them, working from Dr. Saeed on the back right to the front with all our ladies there. 3 of whom are Christian and 6 of whom are Muslim. It is a united team. It is a work of God, and it is a ministry of light. And they support one another. They go to each other's weddings. In terms of on the street, we attended online, which was essentially some old chairs in a car park outside the hospital, and some broken drums, and that was the men's ceremony. So that was, I think, Yusuf, our physiotherapy, got married. And also Allah, our speech and language therapist, is about to give birth. So please pray for her. So life goes on in remarkable ways, but most are displaced. Most are not living where they should be. They've found a room, or they've rented something, or they're in the church still. So today in Palestine, Israel, the call to practice faith, hope and love is an immense challenge for people of all faiths, for people of no faith, in all the areas of that land. So in the West Bank, we have the context of record displacement, settler violence, major movement restrictions that make daily life, work and access to services much harder. In East Jerusalem, where we live, mounting pressure from forced evictions, home demolitions, settlement expansion and movement restrictions that fragment neighbourhoods and limit daily life for Palestinians. In Gaza, you have seen and you know the devastation there, which has decimated infrastructure and displaced 90% of the population, with over 70,000 people killed, and nearly 42,000 people in the Gaza Strip have life-changing injuries caused by the war. One of these 4 injuries are children. And so from the UN report, it says Gaza's many injured will need rehabilitation care and support for years to come. In Israel, where the opportunities and safe spaces for meetings, for reconciliation across ethnic divides are diminishing, and the fear of the other grows. So, faith, hope and love. What is our response in all of this? This is a poem, or an extract from a poem by JulieAnn Sewell, a Jewish poet. And this extract, I think, is a warning to us all in a reality where the howl of the orphans is passed from one generation to the next, as in a relay race. The baton never falls. So, what I see our work, our ministry together as the World Church, but also in the Diocese of Jerusalem, is not to keep passing on that baton, so that there is a change, that there is we break through, a break into the darkness, and we bring light in whatever small way we can. And hopefully I've shown you that through the films, through the voices of the Palestinians, that the light is broken in and continues to break in through the ministry of healing on the Mount of Olives, in the outreach and in Gaza. And what I want to leave you with is people's voices. So I want you, so that you can be introduced properly to some of these remarkable, wonderful, normal people. So Musa, we met him in the film, social worker in Gaza, lived with his family, daughters and wife in the church, from a Catholic church. He's now living in a rented room where his friend has left Gaza, so he's staying in that room, which is, he says, is okay. He says, I am dedicated to this work, focusing on the deep humanitarian need, regardless of religion, gender and difference, because in this war, people have lost their homes and livelihoods. And this photograph is of Musa at the beginning of the war in the church, which also houses a school and a home for children with disabilities. There are now 11 children still living there with profound disabilities, and this is one of them. Al-Zahra, Flora, who is our occupational therapist. Here she's back working in the unit, so no longer in sheltered accommodation or a tent. And she says, my work with these children moves my focus away from the relentless daily challenges of war towards building hope and solidarity, united with the people we serve. And Yusuf, who recently got married, He's our physiotherapist, one of 3 in Gaza. And here he says, despite fear and exhaustion, children still come to therapy with determination. Their determination gives us the strength to keep going, no matter how difficult the circumstances are. And of course, we want to make sure the children are heard too. These are the children in Gaza as part of a UNICEF project called the Gaza We Want, which provided activities, therapeutic activities for 11,000 children and interviewed 1,603 children. The findings are not surprising. What they want is an education, they want a home, they want a safe place to play. And 9 out of 10 children also said, we need some support, psychologically. So some psychosocial support. They use their own words, but they want someone to talk to. They want to have some help with the feelings they have. They want some help with the fears they have. So that is the needs of the children of God at the moment. As I say, we work with all ages, and this is a grandmother from Gaza who came to our centre with her grandchild before the war. And she had quite a difficult crossing to get here. And so she tells us, it was a tiring journey to reach you. There is no other place like this. You saved us. You are our beacon. So the images of light, are profound, and they are worked through all the ministry. All our ministries of 30 institutions across the different lands, including Princess Basma. Farah's mother, so this is Farah here, enjoying her audiology test. Farah was originally going to be called Layla, but when she was born, her father and mother knew she was going to have a disability, and they wanted to change her name to Farah, which means joy. So this is our joyous new child we want to empower and love. And so they wanted her name to embody that. And she certainly does, because she is now not just a role model, but a model, because she does some fashion modelling as well. So Farah's mother is from Bethany, Israel, which should only be 10 minutes away before the wall, the separation wall was put up, and it now takes anything up to an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours to get to us. But she said, I gesticulate too much. Is that good with you? Farah's mother says, Farah's journey demonstrates the power of love, support and integrated care, opening a path of progress and hope for the happiness and fulfillment of every child. So to conclude, I wanted to bring you Violette's words, because she will be here with me too. This is the general manager. She didn't want a photograph of herself, so I had to have a photograph of lots of other children in the school instead. She is one of the few women leaders in Palestine. She is a joy and an amazing role model. And she says, every story, every achievement, every smile reflects our unwavering belief that every child deserves the chance to thrive, to learn, and to be fully seen. And so this is a picture of on the roof of our playground, of our inclusive school. And that is part of an end of a PE lesson, I think that was captured on film. And so prayerfully, what can you do? Name drop again. So I want to give you some names that you can take away and pray with and for. So I mentioned Dr. Wada, who is the outreach team medical director and the senior medical person in our team. And he takes every week, twice a week, a team of therapists, physiotherapists, occupational therapists out into the clinics. And so in the West Bank, I think last year he said there were 60 visits he did. And so that is the key to bringing children to us. So if the outreach does not happen, if he can't get to the villages, the children can't get to us because they need to be assessed and referred and given permission. So it's a whole cycle, and that's the beginning of the cycle. Really important to pray for that continues. Our West Bank mothers and children enrolled in our residential programs pray for their journey to us, as well as our journey with us. They have a very difficult journey to get to us and back safely. But they come for 3 weeks and they go back with a home therapy plan, and then they are, sorry about this noise, then they are referred back to their local clinic. And so it's a cycle that they can continue the support. This is good.
Yeah.
Of course, our Jerusalem staff too need your support and prayers. They have to navigate long and challenging journeys to work themselves. So, for example, Isa, his name you may know means Jesus. So he lives in Bethlehem. I think we saw on the film only 6 miles away, really, 10 kilometres or so. But it takes him sometimes up to 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get to us. And then he has to come and start his day's work with a smile because the children need him. So even getting to us to work will be a challenge in itself. And also please pray for the safety and well-being of our team of 9 who you met in Gaza and for the children and families they serve. We wish to grow our team in Gaza, and we're now hopefully part of a project looking at prosthetics, so for children with amputations. This is a very new thing, so I can't give you much more than that at the moment, but inshallah we will try and grow our team there as it is safe and needed to do so. So to finish, through decades of conflict, economic hardship, political unrest, and now wars, we continue steadfast in our mission. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Thank you.